36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Good evening and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And yes, we have a really exciting show tonight because we got what you call I think this is called a unicorn. So that's when you see something that doesn't happen very often, I guess, is what you call that. And I know the person that Jay's running against is it's been a family dynasty. I'm just like stumbling all over myself here. Had some fun getting this show going tonight. I have like Brad's the only person backstage. The guest is trying to get on here, so it's always fun when you have a very low budget production like this. But anyway, Rod Bray, he's a senator pro tem of the Senate in Indiana. Here, he's been in office for I think 12 years, and before that, his dad was a senator for since like the 1900s. It's been that long. They've been in charge down there. They really haven't had any competition. So we're excited to get Jat Hard on. He's actually thrown his hat in the ring and decided to go out here. He's a brave soul to do this. And I've been into the politics before. I know how hard that can be. But first of all, I want to have a comment here about our live chat comments. So I did receive some concerning mail and messages last week about the tone of our live chat. So I would just say, if you were going to call somebody dumb, then or worse in the name, then don't do it. That's pretty easy for that to happen. So we want to try to keep the chat as, oh yeah, I see you there, Slick Witty. You're one of the ones I got some complaints about. So you calm it down over there. Keep it under 100 on the curves. And then also, we were following some things this week. In last week we had challenges. Basically, the parties could challenge people if they were going to be on the ballot. And we did at the county levels. We've done some of those last Friday, this Monday, and today was the state level. So if you've been following the John Rust deal and Jim Banks, that crowded ballot where there's so many people on there that we got to keep them off. Well, John Rust had a setback today with the state election board. They decided that he couldn't be on the ballot, and I think he got tossed off of there. But I don't think it's over till somebody sings. And they've not sung yet. So I think he's going to keep on going. But hey, the good news is he's going to come on the show next week. We're going to have John Rust on next week, and we're going to talk about this. And I'll probably put a survey on People Over Politics about this two primary rule and how the party is using it to pick and choose who they'd like to have on the ballots, and just to get your opinion on that. So that's what we have there, and I see Jay's got his camera set up back there. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jay on here. Let's see how we can do that without messing it up. Hey, there you go. Hey, Jat Hard, how are you this evening?
You know what? It was a long day. This was actually my first day of campaigning. I had meetings over in the Cloverdale area, and actually had lunch over in Greencastle, which is just outside of the district, but met some folks from Cloverdale over, and then back into Cloverdale and had some meetings over in Cloverdale, and just rushed home from the Gosport Town Board meeting, which was great. I'll tell you what, that was an awesome experience. The Gosport Town Board, I just walked out of there, and and hustled home to do this show. And it was amazing to watch small town politics, the transparency and open debate with this town, and just as how it's supposed to work when government is doing the work of the people, and it's happening right there in plain view. And we could sure use a lot more of that in our General Assembly.
Yeah, well, you should have been watching the Madison County Election Board, where the Republican county chair is also the president of the election board. That was fun to watch. And let's just put it this way: he's not a very friendly person. He was cheering for him to go off the ballot, and it was tough to watch. But we had that going on, and there's good, bad, and ugly everywhere. So it's good to hear some good news about Gosport, Indiana, that they're doing it right.
Yeah. It was just great. Like that small town atmosphere of where there's really, I don't think they have any other option but to have their debates right there in open air. And it was great. And people were very respectful. And there was a little bit of some spirited discussion. But
nobody got tossed out. Nobody got thrown out. I mean, I've seen people get arrested at some of these things. Library boards, those are really sometimes contentious, I guess. So
yeah.
Hey, Jay, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. And I like how you're, is that the backsplash of your kitchen there? And
this is where we make the coffee right here. Yeah,
that's right.
Where I spend most of
donuts. It sort of matches your shirt. I really like the coordination. You rolled out the red carpet for this show, rushing home and all that. I appreciate your respect for the Mouthwash talk shows. There's some people don't respect it as much as you have here. So we appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, where you live and a couple of those things.
Well, I was actually born in Clinton County, and I grew up quite poor in a deeply divided family, poverty and chaos. And, but the great thing about our state is that, you don't have to stay there. And so I worked my way from the mud holes in the alley over by the railroad tracks in Frankfort, Indiana, all the way to Gasoline Alley by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I cut my teeth over there building antique motorcycles and vintage racing cars. And that was where I actually I learned to really appreciate the rich history of this state. Was over there with of course, the Indianapolis 500 is known all around the world. It's the greatest spectacle in racing, and very lucky, geographical luck. I didn't grow up in a racing family. My family growing up was all into demolition derbies. So being over by the Speedway as a young man, when I left Frankfurt, I was, on a mission to go be a super musician, and traveled around a little bit. I've lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and Austin, Texas, and I've had some friends in the music business that have done quite well, and some big bands. A lot of people.
What instrument do you play, if you don't mind me interrupting?
I play the Telecaster guitar. You have to say Telecaster. I'm a tele player. I'm not just a guitar player. I'm a tele player. But
I know how you flaky musicians are. That won't trust me. That won't eliminate you from running for politics at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. I was telling some people the other day that a long time ago, if you've been in the music business, there was no way you could run for politics with all the crazy things that you've done. But wow, the people that we have in politics today, from top to bottom, I think people are just used to hearing the craziest stuff. But
yeah. So you mentioned coffee. Now Shauna wants some coffee now, since you mentioned.
Shauna,
I've been getting some comments about the show being on late, and I can't stay up that late. Well, hey, it just works out because Lucy, our libertarian, she's got 10 kids and she's always corralling them. And, when we started this show, believe it or not, we had people that were on Central Time. So we had to go a little later. But now everybody's sort of on the fast time, as we call it, and it works out. So you're on the Mouthwash show because you're going to be running for this Indiana State Senate, but not only just for the Senate, but you're running against the big dog. You're running against the guy that's the pro tem and all that. So what made you do something like that?
Well, I moved to this district about 20 years ago. When I first came from Gasoline Alley, I moved my shop down to White River Township. And I've been here, long time. My wife was born and raised in this district and still has family throughout the whole district. Y'all probably have some cross kin somewhere over in your neck of the woods. But, I would say that if there's a theme for my campaign, it's this. I really don't like themes, but if there is a theme for my campaign, it's this. We don't have to wait for the federal government to come save our tails in Indiana. We have, there are 50 states and we have borders with our state. And if the federal government is not going to solve our border problem on our southern border, we can solve that problem here. We just need better leadership in the state house. I feel like we have a legislative branch of government in Indiana that has really let us down. And I believe I know it's from lack of leadership. We are a very conservative state. We're a very conservative state. And when I see the problems in our state house, for instance, I say this often, but, when we have, 70% of the House, we was talking about the House, with this supermajority, we really, in my opinion, only have about 25 serious Republicans who are there doing Republican things, honoring our platform. And it's worse in the Senate. That ratio is worse in the Senate. So we just need better leadership there. The current, our current senator's been there for 12 years. His dad was there before that. The same household has ran this district since Bill Clinton was first elected. And that's not the way that government works well. It's not healthy. That's very unhealthy for our government. I remember when Rod took the president pro tem position at the State House, I remember having some conversations with people at that time. And I said, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would they want our conservative senator to lead, to serve in that position? Because that's the position where you serve the biggest donors and lobbyists and the governor. Why would they want our conservative guy to do that? Well, in my opinion, and Rod is a very nice person. I think many people who have met Rod, he's pleasant. But about that time, things really started changing. And from having to fight Rod on constitutional carry, that was a very disheartening. We're Indiana. We should have led the way with that. We shouldn't have to, fight our very conservative senator in this district for our God-given right to defend ourselves. That was very upsetting. Of course, we eventually got it, but we should not have had to fight for that. It should have been a very easy.
It was like three years, but I mean, and people in Indianapolis would beg to differ with you. I mean, some would.
Sure.
Because of our situation. Jay, I'm gonna cut you off there because I want to get the panel out here, and I've had a request from Spiro to play Small Talk at 21 something or other. So I use that as a segue, but I'm going to bring the panel on here. I see we have Tiffany, Brad's backstage. Tiffany. Now, if you notice the countdown, Brad was added into the countdown tonight. He's actually 3.5 because I didn't want to take Ed out because he's like beloved on our show. So now Brad is 3.5 on the countdown. So I'm going to bring him on first here. Let's see.
It's a big day for me, John.
It's a big day. I know it is.
Yeah.
It's so wait, you guys don't get it. You're not charging anything. So Lucy's en route. Okay, folks. So I guess Southern Indiana, Louisville's got some storms and whatnot coming in, and so Lucy's got Toto, and she is headed to her daughter's basement. So I guess she said Dorn can fend for himself. So Lucy's down in Salem, Indiana. And y'all know those twisters just rip up Southern Indiana all the time. I mean, if you're by Henryville or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Woo, yeah, that was
Henryville. Yeah.
So anyway, we wish her all the well, but she said she's going to pop on here. So Brad, how do you feel being famous on the countdown now? I mean,
it's pretty much the best thing that happened today. And John, that's impressive because I want you to know Fish announced their summer tour.
So, really?
Yeah. There was some competition for the top spot.
I know it, man. I don't know how to react on that. So Tiffany, how are you? It looks like you're sort of scrambling around to get in. Fisher's councilwoman and all that.
Actually, we had our Fisher's GOP meeting tonight at the Humane Society here in Hamilton County, and it was probably the saddest meeting we've ever had. And it just reminded me of why Bob Barker would always say at the end of The Price is Right. What would he say?
Spay and neuter your pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the GOP in Hamilton County was going to the dogs. That would be my saying there. I'm sorry, but Brad liked that one, but I could see it. He didn't do it. So, but anyway, so hey, the gang's all here, so you can start asking questions about the Indiana Senate. So, the good thing, Jay, if you win, you get 4 years. You don't have to come back and try to. That would be hard to have to get elected every 2 years. I mean,
you're constantly running and fundraising.
Yeah, it just seems like you're always running, and unless you're Andre Carson, you just have put the signs in their garage and put it out every 2 years, and then he wins. So, and honestly, that's sort of how it's been in Morgan County for when's the last time Rod even had a competitor, or has he?
I think last time he had a competitor is when he ran 12 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, full disclosure, I lived in Morgan County for 20 years, 1989 to about 2000. Well, actually more than that. And I don't remember Bray not being in charge, but you say he was 94. His dad was in there. And other full disclosure, Rod Bray was actually, I had a case where I needed an attorney, and Rod Bray was my attorney fresh out of law school in the early 90s. or middle 90s. So we won. Well, it was really open and shut. I had a customer decided they didn't want to pay me, so I had to call Rod Bray to get him to pay up. So,
well, Jay, you had talked about immigration earlier, or like the southern border.
Yes.
And my question, I guess, is how can a state legislature impact? I guess what is our state legislature missing out right?
Well, I think it's quite simple, and I think there's quite a bit of legislation floating around there right now aimed at this. But we could create a lot harsher penalties. We could stop the we've created we have magnetized the state of Indiana to illegal immigration, and of course, along with it, poisonous drugs, human trafficking. One of the things we could do is with bold legislation, we could target the people who are knowingly housing and hiring folks who are entering our country illegally. And that would be a very simple thing that we could do. And on the other side of that, I'm not all doom and gloom. There's a bright side to that. I think our state should be a partner with the federal government and work a little harder to push the federal government to fix some of our immigration laws so we could streamline some things. I have a lot of friends who are here on visas that have been lured to the United States with hopes, and they've been sold kind of a bad deal.
But isn't the American dream like what is sold? I mean,
sure, yes, and signing the guest book and doing it legally. And look, I've driven across this country more times than I can count, and it is a beautiful country. There's tons of uninhabited land. We can certainly take on more population in our country. In fact, I think we need that sort of workforce for some things. I think that's a real argument to be made, but we need to do that legally, and we need people signing the guest book and not disrespecting our country. But there are a lot of people who have been very respectful and have honored our laws who are here now. And we have literally lured them here, in my opinion. And I think that we should be pushing the federal government to fix that part of our immigration system. I'm not anti-immigration. You hear this a lot. I'm anti-illegal immigration, and we could solve the problem at the border if we wanted to. But at the state level, we could create legislation. We just don't. I mean, there's so many things that we could solve in the state house that people, many Hoosiers don't really think about or understand, because the federal races take all the oxygen out of the air. It's like Trump, Clinton, Obama, Biden, that's what
but Jay, you say you want to make like punishments harder or harsher, but then like say somebody hires an illegal immigrant, to do a job, and like, are they going to be came down on harder, I guess? Is that
absolutely. I would
you're in trouble.
Yeah, I would absolutely support that. I would. Yes. I mean, without question.
So let me jump in here real quick, because I'm in the masonry business, and I have, I started in 1990, and it was, Clinton was tough on immigration, and I don't know if you remember the Custom Concrete had, they came in with buses and took a bunch of illegals away. I think Simpson motorcycle or racing and stuff got caught up in it. So they used to come in and punish these people. But now there's no punishment. I don't know how people get away with not taking taxes out. I got audited last year and I had no problems. I take taxes out of all my people and all that. But I go on construction sites and I'm the only gringo there, if you know what I mean. So there are some people that are not doing things right. So to me, how's that fair when I take taxes out and people that could go somewhere else and work for cash and not take taxes out? It's a disadvantage to me. I have to.
Well, but also, I guess my question is too, is what is going to happen to those people that are here that are being paid under the table, and then all of a sudden now there's, people are scared to give them work.
States. There's 49 other states to choose from, but I'm concerned about Indiana.
But if they're already here, and like I'm kind of curious how Indiana's a magnet. What is, and I'm just curious
because
as to why.
Because as John said, illegal immigration can freely operate here. There is no legislation. There's certainly no enforcement of any legislation. If we just stuck to our constitutions, we would be in much better shape. But
this thing
is Texas's law like the same, or I mean, like, are we?
No, I don't know.
Law like?
We don't handle it. This is what happens. So say you're illegal driving in Indiana, you get pulled over for a ticket. They used to impound your vehicle, take it. Well, now they just write you a $149 ticket.
Yeah.
And
because can't you just say you're on vacation?
Well, I don't know what they don't say anything. They just write them up. They don't want to deal with the paperwork. There's no method in place, and this is where the federal government needs to step up. It's the same thing with marijuana. I mean, Governor Holcomb said, "Hey, we're not going to do marijuana until the feds do it." Because it's a mess.
And that's what I mean. I feel like you guys, and Jay, you said it too. With it's more about the processing and the
well,
we need to get better at that too.
The reason we're not creating this bold legislation, and some of it has been created, it's not getting hearings. But the reason that it's not is because we have leadership in the House and Senate, and certainly in the Senate, that is serving big donors and lobbyists who want that illegal immigration. So that's the problem. I mean, but it's not just illegal immigration. It's China buying our farmland. We can solve that problem right here in this state. We don't have to wait for the federal government to come help us on that. We can solve that problem right here. Just today, I received a text message from a United States congressman talking about how, he's wanting to protect us from the sale of this farmland. The same congressman supported Sheen up in Whitestown, which is connected to slave labor with the CCP. So, we need to be, number one, I think we need to be honest about our fights in this state. But there's just certainly things we can do. Property taxes, we can deal with that right here in this state. We don't have to wait for the federal government. Income tax, we can deal with that right here in the state. We don't have to wait for the federal government. Fuel tax, we can deal with that here. But what I hear from our state government, I hear it often is, the IEDC, we're doing so good. Look at our numbers. They're so great. Number one, there's no transparency there, and there's very little boundaries. But they talk about how wonderful our state is doing. Well, it may be doing well for developers, bankers, and politicians, but it's not reaching all the people in the state. If it were, here's how you judge economic development, in my opinion. If economic development is doing well, taxes are going down, wages are going up, and safety is going up. But right now, we have all these investments, and and we are claiming that the state is doing so well with economic development, yet property taxes skyrocketing, income taxes going up, fuel tax going up, crime going up. We're paying more money to live less safe. That's not success. And
at least we have a surplus. That's good.
Yeah, we got that going for us. That's what Tiffany, I want to hear from you. You've been like sitting up there being such a good girl. Usually you bust in here. So I appreciate your patience. So come on, let's go get in the game.
I love the talk about bold legislation, and I love that you're running. I guess my question is, how do you plan to work with the rest of the Republican caucus? Because I think we've had people on the show before who were a caucus of two.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
Yeah.
think that, here's what I will say to that. Right now, we have a senator in my district, has been in for 12 years, 6 years ago, took on that pro temp position. We lost our Senate representation 6 years ago because his job is to serve those people. If I were to win this race, you're adding one conservative, one
so
more
how do you know
conservative.
he's not serving his constituents?
Well, because his job in the Senate is to serve the biggest donors and lobbyists and the governor. I mean, that's how. I mean,
So is his voting record? Is it 180 degrees from what you guys want to see?
no, it is not
Are you-
100.
You're not upset with his voting history?
Yeah, I'm upset with some of it. Yes, I mean, there's bills that I know were killed in the Senate. I think everybody knows that the Senate is where great legislation goes to die. And
don't let the house fool you. I've seen it go.
Oh
there
yeah,
too.
yeah, sure, yeah, no, yeah.
Well, that's my thing. Is that like if you've got people working together who genuinely like each other and they're killing each other's legislation, and when you come in with bold thoughts and you're outside the caucus, I mean, what's your value proposition so that you can get things done? Because I think it's great that you're bold, you're different, you want to take things on. But I think one of the things that I think, and I'm probably wrong, is that loan sharks don't do well.
Yeah. Well, you're just adding one more stronger conservative vote. If you really want to know the difference between Rod and I, and I'll just be really serious here. Rod has been in for 12 years. Rod has been, everybody understands how this works in government. When people go downtown and they stay downtown and they spend lots of time downtown, you see a lot less of them throughout the district. It becomes
wait a minute, one second. They're part-time legislators.
Yeah.
So the longest session is 4 months, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like he's gone to it's not like he's in DC for, a whole year.
I saw him at a bike race.
As I say, you'd probably have to talk to more people in the district. And just today, I was at 3 different spots in this district and got the same message that they wondered where he was at. So my point is this: when someone for 12 years, they are far less likely to be spending time in the district and far more likely to be serving those donors and lobbyists. The longer they're there. And I think it's just practical. I think that Americans across the country.
But you're speaking in hypotheticals. It's like there was, like, I don't know, Indiana politics, some guy who had an apartment someplace and they knew he wasn't there because the mail was stacking up. I mean, Jay, I think if you're going to take on the incumbent, then I think you need some hard facts. Like, he's not here, he's vacationing, he's got a place in Mexico.
Well, I'll put it this way. I'll deal with that. I'll tell you what, I did a lot of very, very, very hard work with the Johnson County Republican Party when I was in the Johnson County side of this district. And the Morgan County side of this district, I believe I was a part of a very small group that we put together something called Elephant Wings that maybe y'all have heard of. It is a very popular event in Morgan County. And I thought that, and this is every month, it's the first Thursday of every month, and it's a wonderful event. We've had everybody there from senators to attorney generals to all the local people. I personally have never seen Rod Bray there. I was told that he might have been there on one that I actually missed. But I do an awful lot of work. In fact, in the last race that Rod Bray was in, it wasn't really much for race, I'm pretty sure that I'm the guy who put all of his signs out in Johnson County. And so I know I attend a lot of events. If anyone knows anything about me in this area of GOP, they know my face is there. They know they can call me to pick up trailers, pick up signs, do the work, go to the fairground, set up the tent, pick up the chairs, pick up the food. I'm the guy who's doing that. So I know if Rod's there, and I don't see a lot of Rod. And I mean, so that is part of my motivation is I want a better representative who's in this district with us. If Rod were doing a great job, he and I would be better friends, because I have friends throughout all the state representatives here. I can get on the phone right now with any representative in this district, and we know our children's names, our pets' names, we know a lot of that stuff. I just don't know that about Rod. Rod may just not personally like me, and that's okay. But I'm saying the hard work that you're doing when you serve people is to know them and to be with them. And that's what I do. And that's why I think I'll make a better senator. I'll be a better representative for the people in this district.
So what I'm hearing is, let me jump in. I see Lucy's in the background, and we are past the 21 mark, so I can play small talk. What I'm hearing here is our guy, the guy you're running against, he's a little bit complacent, and you bring in a new energy, and and I really think that, it's a grind. I mean, you grind something out, and, we talk about term limits and everything. And I know my limitations. If I do something for 10 years, that's a long time. I got about a 4-year window on about it. Anything that's, besides, stuff that, jobs and that type of thing. But, politics, it's just it's just a time suck. It's just a hard thing. And it sounds like you're already doing some of the work. So let's see. Hold your thought, Tiffany. Hold your thought. Hold your thought. Hold on.
His voting record. I mean, like, I feel like if you're going to challenge an incumbent, I think that you really need to be saying, he's never here. This is his voting record. He's not representing.
Okay, let me address that real quickly.
Let
me address that really quickly. Here's some of the bills that were killed in the Senate. Okay, the CRT bill, which this district is very strongly supportive of. Pornography in libraries. This district is very supportive of that. Again, constitutional carry, which we already went over, and people here have not forgotten how he killed that bill and how he reappointed the same chair to that committee the following year. People know.
I'm so happy he killed those bills.
And the way that and there you go.
Yeah, Madison County speaks up there. Yeah, you're everything you got to come with more money.
But Tiffany, I appreciate what you're saying, but he absolutely has become listen, people don't go to these seats and get closer to the right. Every single Republican that I know that's ever been elected, sometimes they move a lot to the left, sometimes it's just a little bit, but I never see anybody elected and move further to the right. So I do believe it's important to make sure that as Republicans that we're electing people who are very strong and a little more to the right, because everybody shifts to the left a bit. I've seen it with every single candidate. I don't know of any who have ever been elected. I said, wow, that person became a lot more conservative when they got in their seat. It just doesn't really happen that way.
Well, you got it. Even Brad, he has some good ideas every once in a while. So I hold that thought. I just wanted to shoot that one over Brad's head real quick. But we're gonna do small talk, and then it's gonna be Lucy's coming in. She's safe in the bunker, and she'll be coming in. So let's see what Mark has. He does mention Trump in this one, so we might have a little discussion about that on the other side. So I know Tiffany's like,
hey, hi, Mark Small talk. It's kind of difficult to get really enthusiastic about a Senate race in Morgan County where the place is so gerrymandered and a state that's so gerrymandered that both houses of the General Assembly have supermajority of one party, that you begin to wonder what is the future of democracy, because that's what 2024 is about. There's only one office in the United States in which the winner of the most popular votes doesn't automatically get the win. That's presidency of the United States. And electors weren't created as a function in the Constitution to be used somehow for strategy. They were put there to make sure that somebody who wasn't incompetent, corrupt, or under the control of a hostile foreign power wouldn't be put into the office. So what we're looking at now is a situation in which Trump's been suing to kind of get things reversed, to reverse the 2020 election. I don't think any of his people looked at what paperwork I drafted and filed with the Supreme Court. We actually have legal grounds for arguing what we were saying. Because if you can't challenge the office of the president, that election, if it's corrupt, if it's hacked, what other election could you challenge? It has to be able to be taken to court. That his cases were tossed indicate that nobody had the evidence there that any of those computer programs really functioned that way. I quoted Trump himself and Pence and McConnell, and was it Ryan 2, 3, 4 speakers ago? I'm saying all this because we're looking at a campaign now that could be our last election, our last free election, if Trump gets his way. Now, Morgan County is so gerrymandered. They're arguing about, I think, the incumbent was taking away protections for gay people in terms of criminal prosecutions being an aggravator, and his challenger is wanting to go one step further. I don't know. But overall, if you really don't like the way things are going, don't pay much attention to a sundown county like that. Look it up if you don't know what that means. Just get out and vote.
So there you go. Hey, Lucy, get under there. I'll put you up here.
Hey, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just trying to get a better
Better
I don't know if you
background.
guys can see this. Better background. How states start acting when taxation is theft. See, they're holding that road like a little baby. I'm in a laundry room right now in the bunker.
Is that storm's getting you?
You know what? Where we live down in southern Indiana, I'm told that Ryan Hall Y'all, which if you don't know the Ryan Hall Y'all channel, you should definitely look into it. He is like the best weatherman on YouTube ever. They've got people staging down there already that are storm chasers. Like he sends people in ahead of the storm, not just to storm chase, but to be there. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars from people like us that have done like the GoFundMe's and stuff. So if he's coming to town, man, I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
I've got
Well,
a basement.
it's good that you're safe. It's good you're safe. You've missed a pretty lively discussion, but you got here just in time to hear Mark Small pretty much talk about Trump and his thing. And it's like I'm like, did he not read the papers about how Trump's gotten sued for like $500 million? During his trying to run for president. I mean, love or hate the guy, you gotta, that makes you go ooh a little bit about how this is going down. But
he's just going to make some new shoes, John.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I keep thinking, well, it's not conspiracy theory. I think Elon Musk is going to pay us $500 million just to, just irritate everybody in the whole country. Just somebody's going to step in there that's got, a couple billion laying around that they just don't need for a couple months. Put it in there. So,
because if anyone needs a handout.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you what, you fork over $500 million or whatever. It's like I couldn't get $5. I had a hard time getting $5 for lunch today, which didn't buy lunch. So there you go. So
$5.
So yeah.
Well, can I rail on Mark Small for a moment? Why does such a man who's passed the bar and is seemingly intelligent in a lot of areas still think that we live in a democracy?
Yeah, that was noticed.
It's so disappointing.
There we go. We have some constitutional scholars on this show.
Constitutional Republic, yes.
Yeah. So, and then here's an interesting question. We got a new viewer. This is Gregory Catter. Anyone trying to build a freedom caucus? Jay, is that something that I mean, are you a Jim Jordan and those guys' fan? I know.
Would I be interested in a freedom caucus type? I think there's some unofficial things like that. Certainly in the House. I know the House has a. I don't know if I can throw them under the bus like that. I know there's a group of folks in the House that
Indiana House,
have
not
something
the,
similar. Yeah.
In the Indiana House we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Don't be mentioning any names. We've had some issues on our show with people showing up in Democrat commercials and depositions and whatnot. So you don't want to make.
I would like to see. I mean, I would like to see a lot more transparency in our government. People say this all the time, but the reality is, just like I said, I was just over in Gosport. I was watching these folks change the title of some folks that in the town. It's a very small town. I don't recall the population. Very, very small. But it's just this open debate, honest debate. A little spirited, little bit. But it was all happening right here in front of me. And I understand, government's big. There's a lot of people in Indiana. We're talking about, billions of dollars. So it can't operate the way that a small town does. But we can certainly bring that sort of honesty and integrity into our state house. So much is done where I'm just tired of the public being left out of the legislative process. The public's only part of the legislative process today seems to be on election day, and that's it. And that's just not the way it should be. We have the right to know how our representatives are voting or what they are supporting and what deals, what negotiating they're doing. And we should be doing that openly, and we should know that about our representatives. And it makes me sick when I see all these bills, especially legislation that has to do with the Constitution, that's laid out very clear in the Constitution. That should be debated openly. All those should get hearings, especially something as simple as whether or not we are going to support the Second Amendment. When it has so much support in the House, when it passed with so much support in the House, that constitutional carry bill, it should have gotten a hearing. We should have had to fight for that. That was just silly. It was absolutely silly. And
yeah. So, Lucy, I'm going to let you do a question, but I want to put one in here real quick on this. So we recently have had this blue line that's, pretty much going across Indiana here, Indianapolis. And we have a few people that are really upset. And, Senate Bill 52 is going through, and it's basically sort of chops out the dedicated lanes, which the dedicated links to me, I just don't. It's a war on cars. I don't care how you say it, my opinion, but it is a war on cars. So, what do you think about the state coming into the city? I mean, we got this thing called home rule that we try to keep things local and whatnot. But the argument is, well, Washington Street is a state road. State should have a little say in this. But the neighbors are saying, hey, we need transportation to get across town. You shouldn't be telling us how we should do that. I mean, we got the scooters. I don't know what more you need, but anyway, they want this blue
Those
line
are so
thing.
fun.
So what do you think about, there's a two question here.
Especially grocery bags.
Yeah. Well, if it's windy enough, you can use them as a sail. Two questions here. Should the state get involved with the city stuff? And then what's your opinion on, the state coming in on this blue line thing and
well, my opinion on, I think
it's the same question.
I think I had the legislation wrong when I first started opening my mouth about it. I make mistakes, believe it or not. I mean, don't tell my wife, but
I think she knows.
Here's my understanding of it at this point is that if the people in that area voted for it and they're paying for it and nobody else is paying, if you're paying for it, you have a say. It's just, that's the bottom line. If I'm paying for it, then I'm going to talk about it. If I'm paying for your lung cancer, then I'm going to have, an opinion about tobacco sales, and it's the same thing with Blue Line. But if they're paying for it, if their district wants it and they voted for it and they want to pay for it, I'm fine with that. The problem that I have, where I believe the state needs to get where the state should be involved, for me, is in the economic development that happens at a local level. I want to see tax increment financing reform. I don't think that these leaders in these cities, these mayors, ought to be burying these cities in debt because it's going to end up costing our state. And the people keep having to flip the bill for that. And that's what the state has a responsibility to protect the people who live in this state from folks in government. And it doesn't, election day, everybody always wants to say, well, election day. That one day is not, that is not the only protection that people should. I think it's reasonable for Hoosiers to think that that the state has an obligation to look out for us at local levels as well, which is why we have, the Department of Local Government Finance. I think we need reform there. But if the people in that district want it and they want to pay for it and I don't have to pay for it, that's up to them.
Guess what, Jay? You're paying for it because it's a lot of federal funding and whatnot. But that you answered the question pretty well. But Lucy, what do you think about tax increment finance deal? That to me is taxation in the future of theft.
That's just a way to hide the theft from our great grandchildren because we're still going to be paying for it there.
Absolutely, Lucy.
I moved from Fishers, and Jay, I looked at your resume and it was so funny how many things we have in common. I worked in the fitness industry. I went to IUPUI. Go Jaguars! So it's funny how many things we have in common. It seems common sense, maybe another thing that we have in common. I do have to give you the litmus test. Is taxation theft?
He hesitated.
I'm going to give you a long answer because, no, I you know what? I believe it is theft.
Done. Hey, stop. Let me stop you right there. You're done.
Let me give my explanation here.
Okay.
I believe that if a group of people, just like we talked about the Blue Line, if a group of people would like to get together and build a road in front of their properties, and they want to delegate that operation to some management to do that, and everybody pays equally for the service that they are willing to use, then no, if we want to call that taxes, then I would say, no, that's not theft. What we're experiencing today, where the federal government or the state or the county or cities are assessing the value of my happiness, we have the right, to pursue happiness. How does the government have the right to assess the value of my stuff? And why should I have to pay more money because I have stuff? That's what irritates me. split it up, tell me what I owe, tell me what portion of the street I use, what portion of the street lights, the police officers, the firefighters, and we should all pay equally. If I walked into a liquor store, which I do often, and I bought a 6-pack of Miller Lite, usually it's a 12-pack and it's Pacifico these days, but if I do, and the clerk at the counter said, well, Mr. Hart, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a motorsports fabricator. Okay, that'll be $18. And then the guy behind me gets up there with a 12-pack of Pacifico and she says, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a foot surgeon. Okay, that'll be $275. How many times would we go back to shop at that liquor store? We wouldn't. And we all are receiving the same services. Why are we paying different amounts for the same service? If you have a Bentley or a Ferrari, why would you pay more money to drive on a street that you're causing less damage to than some guy driving a hoopty like me, and your exhaust dragging down the road and oil leaking all over the place? Why does the guy with the Ferrari have to pay more money to use the same road, use less of the road? So yes, there's
Isn't it
certainly
called
theft
percentage
involved.
though? It's
What's
called
that?
a percentage.
No, that's called progressive, and that's called progressive taxation, which was in a
Graduated,
really
yeah.
stupid book
It's called
by Karl
progressive.
Marx.
I believe it's unconstitutional. I believe it's
Yeah.
unconstitutional, and
Double.
I would put an end to the government assessing the value of my things.
So just a flat tax,
No tax, no tax,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
tax. Taxation is theft.
For Lucy, well, what would you call it? Lucy, what do you call it when somebody's willing to pay, where a community is willing to pay, or the vast majority?
Mm-hmm. That's voluntary. Well, no, that's referendums. No, that's not what I call it. I would call it voluntarism. And rather than calling myself an anarchist, I think a voluntarist is probably the best way to describe me, because what we have is we have a problem with individual rights versus this idea of collective rights. So let's say we're all in the same HOA and I decide to go into John's garage and steal his wallet and take money out of it. That would not be right. But if 4 of us decide that, or even 3 of us out of 5, 3 of us decide that we want to take John's money out of his wallet, suddenly it's somehow moral because we call it taxation and it's for the greater good. And I don't care whether we're going to go, buy some Miller Lite or whether we're going to repave the roads. Theft is wrong. And I cannot give the government a right and delegate a right that I don't possess. I don't have the right to steal from John. And so I can't delegate the right to the government to steal from John. And this, I think, is the moral foundation that most people miss with taxation. Because even in your example of, people getting together and deciding to do such a thing, you've got all kinds of issues with that, because what if it's 50 people who want to do it and 49 people who don't? Is it moral to steal from the 49 because the 50 thought that it was a good idea? And then getting back to the taxes. Yeah. Taxes and money issues.
Well, I want to point something out too. And this, Tiffany, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, about Rod Bray and about records and about things like that. The largest increase in property tax in this state happened in this district. My property value, my assessment doubled. I'm not exaggerating. It doubled this year. So a lot of people,
they must have seen your backsplash.
A lot of people.
Yeah, it's made out of real silver. That's real silver. That's not fake
Menards.
silver.
This was purchased on sale at Menards before they were forcing the masks on us with armed guards.
So-
Yeah, I fought that one too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I built the tax base pretty good in Morgan County. I did a whole subdivision, so of nice houses.
Tiffany, you wear your fashion. Mine's just on my wall.
Yeah,
You're always
that's right.
she is always so fashionably dressed on the show.
Well, she's got
That's
a
okay.
budget.
There's balance in the force. I like completely.
I have a pair of overalls.
Yeah, well, we have this conspiracy theory tonight's going to be is Tiffany really 50? A lot of comments are, oh, Tiffany's not 50. Oh, yeah, she is.
I'm 50. It's funny, Jay. I appreciate what you said about me being well dressed. I don't know if it was a compliment or a backhanded compliment, but
No, not at all.
No. You said it. You said I wear. I took that as you say. I wear my money. Like I've been in my house for 17 years. I've done quite well for myself. So
awesome. No. That was not backhanded. I'm so sorry if you thought that. I did not mean that.
Yeah.
I made sure to stay poor for the rest of my life.
I will tell you this.
Kids.
I almost never, ever, ever dress like this. Usually if you see me on any of my crazy Facebook posts, I'm usually wearing sweat shorts and a t-shirt or something like that. You know, I'm a pretty heavily tattooed guy. I just don't do that. But no, when I tune into the show, it's just something that I noticed, Tiffany, and that's a compliment.
Well,
just a
thank
straight.
Well, this is a classy show. I mean, we get
It is a
nothing but
classy
class
show.
people
No.
on this show.
John's tight with the
It is.
t-shirts too, though. so.
I just assume that when I see the show that you are, I know that you do a lot of work, and I just assume that you're doing the work of the people or doing the work of some people. And no, I think that's great. We had a conversation today about that with a legislator at the State House. We were talking about, you know, what you wear and when you wear it and how you wear it. For me, if I know that I'm going to be in the State House, I wear a tie. I wear a jacket. I wear a tie. I think it's important. And when I go there and I see the pictures, whether you're standing in the, when you're standing in the, you know, in the chambers of the Supreme Court, and you see those pictures of these men and women throughout the building who have done so much serious work in that building. I just think that it's not asking much of people to put the coat and tie on, or wear your best. Wear your best. I feel the same way about church in the airport too, by the way. You know, I cheat a little bit because we do church in our living room. Our church is in North Carolina, so we do church in the living room. Or our favorite churches. We're kind of church tourists. We go to a lot of different churches all over, pretty much everywhere through Johnson and Morgan County. We go to a lot of different churches, but we sort of.
Jay, I have a quick question about your campaign, because it made me think about it when you're talking about the churches that you go to, because, you know, that's a big part of campaigning. As you think about taking on Bray in the primary, how much is it going to cost? How many doors are you going to hit? What's the plan?
I'll tell you what, it's tough. I expect about 20,000 voters in this. It is impossible in about 60 days to reach every single one of those voters. Today, I mean, Tiffany, that's a very real problem for anybody who is challenging someone like this. And the bottom line is this district is hurting. I hear it all day, all the time. It's up to them. It's up to them. It costs money to run these campaigns. Everybody knows that. I've heard of, you know, Rod controls the money in the Senate. He has unlimited funding. If I raised $500,000 for this race, people would say, wow, you raised $500,000 for a state Senate race. Rod could just dump $2 million in. You know, I mean, like, it's literally unlimited. When you think about all of the banking organizations and the power companies and the pharmaceutical companies, all the big asset management companies, the people who are funding, and let's just be real. We know that a lot of the funding from these big asset management companies that are supporting Nikki Haley right now, or who are fighting against Donald Trump and wanting to prosecute Trump, we know that same funding is ending up in our party here in this state, and it will be money that I'll be fighting against, and that's real. So, you know, I'm working my tail off to raise as much money as possible, because unfortunately, that is a very serious part of winning these races. I think it should be less a part of winning these races, but I just think our election system is clearly broken. There's no question about that. And here's the proof I will offer. People have sent me several studies, especially since I've been running. I wish I had them prepared right now, but I don't think you would disagree. I'll just say that I imagine that about 70% of Americans believe that state legislators ought to be held to term limits at about 8 years. At 12 years, about 90% of Americans think state legislators ought to be held at term limits for 12 years. The approval rating for these types of bodies of government are in single digits. Yet, we have incumbents being reelected at like 90%. Something's wrong here. And what I would ask is, why do we not have these officials that we elect that go down there? They're supposed to be doing the work of the people. We need more integrity with those folks. If they know that people don't want them there, you can't just use, well, election day, when, you know, 10 or 11% showed up in the primary. That's a municipal election, but still, we can't have legislators who are going to use that to justify forcing themselves on the American people. And that's what we're doing. I wish we had more integrity where people would say, I came here, I served, I went back home, and I got back to work doing my job. these folks go and they live these lifestyles, especially at the federal level. They live the lifestyle of a billionaire. And you think they're going to come back home and work their six-figure job here and hang out with us schmucks? No, they get addicted to that lifestyle. They love being served. I know it because I've been with them. I see the way they act. And sometimes it's quite embarrassing. But I wish we had more integrity in these seats where people would say, I served and I'm home. And that's it. I'm just tired of the.
Well, Jay, what do you think about revising like the legislative session calendars? I'm a firm believer, or like the more I look into it now, I'm like, okay, I get that they have a salary, but can't we be like the one, beating the drum and saying, hey, you have to work X amount of hours, or you guys should be not having all these sessions or time off? Or
I've heard some very conservative people talk about that right there. But I'll tell you another thing that would really help in government is not only term limits for state legislators, but term limits for those chairs for the committees. That came, I've had that conversation with so many Republican legislators that have been in that House. If you ask, and maybe some of you have, you ask the legislators in there who are frustrated, who feel that they're not able to serve their districts, and you ask them, they will all tell you that there's a problem with the time that people are serving as chairs on those committees and killing the good legislation. And
well, that's what they do. They send it to a chair or a person that's safe, that has a gerrymander, that has a, they're not going to, in Morgan County, the only Democrat I knew died. So, that's about how red Morgan County is. Tiffany, you got something there. You got a question?
Yeah, I was saying that I cannot disagree with you on the term limits for the committees, because I do think that that is one of the places where you can see kind of some undue influence.
These term limit things, this is not Republican.
We're never going to get term limits, though.
Well,
what do they say? What does an elected legislator say? Term limits. The people are term limits.
Yeah, that's a term limit.
And that's the cop out. And that's the thing I really hate to hear from legislators. I don't like to hear that because they know better. They know that the election system is ran by the very elite people at the top of these parties, and in my own party. And I think it's important to be honest about these things. I don't like to be dishonest. There are people who will say, Jay, you shouldn't say these things because it discourages people from voting. No, you don't discourage people from voting. And I know because I've knocked on thousands and thousands of doors for tons of candidates and made tons of phone calls. One of the most disheartening things that I hear when I go to a door and I knock on the door and I know that there are conservative Republican people there is to hear them say, I don't believe you guys anymore. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't trust you. And I don't believe you. And it's because we see these things that are clear cracks in our integrity. And we need to start encouraging folks within our party to go home, go serve at another level. If you're really that great of a legislator, if you're really that great of a representative and you just have a unique life where you can spend time in government without robbing people, go to another level of government and serve somewhere else. I've never had a problem with people. My problem's not as much with the career politician as it is the career seat holder, because I think you get a mix up where they have to deal with another group of lobbyists, donors, or people they're serving. And you get a legitimate fight at that next level. So when you see someone like a Jim Banks or a Todd Rokita, people say, well, how can you support Jim Banks or Todd Rokita? Well, they've moved around a lot. And they've been challenged a lot. That's another thing I'll say about the Senate today. The weaponizing of government has got to end. If there's anything we do as Democrats and Republicans, can we please stop weaponizing government? Can we stop this? Because today in the Senate, we've got an amendment introduced into to a bill to try to, that is clearly purposely trying to take Todd Rokita, out of the AG seat. It's really
he is Indiana's Donald Trump, though, so we'd fall into place with that. So that was Brad, you were going to say something, and then I think we're going to wind this up because we are getting long. And Jay, you've been quite entertaining tonight and quite knowledgeable about what's going on. So if anybody had any doubts,
do you have a consultant?
What's that?
Jay, do you have a consultant, or are you just doing your own election strategy?
Tiffany, just send me your number. I mean, I would love that. I'll tell you
No,
what.
no, I'm not even, I was just wondering. That's my thing is that like,
yeah,
I think it's great. And it sounds like you have a base of people who are supporting you. But then it's like, how is this going to be actionable? Because if Bray has access to that much money, he's going to bury you probably with 3 or 4 mailers.
Yes.
I mean, he'll hit the voting base.
Yeah. I heard he was filming a commercial.
Mailers, text messages, phone calls, and you're going to sink in the water. So I'm just interested.
I have access.
You have so much conviction about what you want and your ideas and the things that you want to do for Indiana. But it's like, well, what's the plan? How is this going to be actionable?
Well, the plan is, I've actually, I ran for state representative before and I did quite well. And I had to work against a candidate who had the support of HRCC and a over 30-year incumbent. And it was a good race. It was a 5-way race. Michelle Davis and I were the front runners in that race. She came out ahead. It was close throughout. We had a good race. And there was none of the other 3 people were even close to us. I lost by 600 votes, but I ran that race mostly by myself. Blair Englehart, who you all know, came in and helped out on that. And I know a lot of people who do this stuff, and I'm friendly with many of them. But to be honest, I did this in the music business for a long time. I worked festivals. I did marketing. I did things of this nature. I don't think we have to continuously pull from the political professionals in order to do a good job of making your ads or getting your mailers done. You can go direct to these media companies and have them do that as well. You can save a lot of money doing it. I'm not saying that my friends that are professionals in the world of politics aren't good at what they do, but I'm saying that when you have a low budget campaign, which is what I have right now, when you have a low budget campaign, you have to practice what you preach as a conservative and try to be as effective as you can, figure out how you can be just as effective. And I don't think that it helps Rod Bray to send out massive amounts of mailers and shoot television commercials when this district knows he's never done one in 12 years. I think it makes him look like he's scared and he's trying to buy back a lot of discontent. So I don't think it helps a campaign in this area. I think we've seen things like this before. Greg Walker did the same thing. He took on the Senate pro tem and he won. And he did it with a lot less money. In fact, I remember Greg Walker sharing with me that his own boss at that time donated to his opponent's campaign. And he had to go to work with his boss every day, knowing he was financially supporting. So those are real questions, Tiffany, and those are real things. And I hope that people in this district understand that. And I ask that everybody who cares and everybody who complains and everybody who calls me, my Facebook messengers and stuff, it's loaded every day with complaints about what is or isn't going right in this state. And I hope that they realize that they need to reach in their pocketbook and they can go to heartforindianasenate.com.
There it is.
Got to do it. You can go to heartforindianasenate.com and you can make a donation to my campaign. And individuals can donate as much money as they like. Corporations are capped at $2,000, but I need that money. I'm terrible at asking. I'm great at fundraising.
67 cents. Yeah, you need the money.
Yeah. So Jay, this will be on you. So go back in the comments and put down that information because we're a low budget show here, and I can only do so much with the limited skills that I have. So in the Facebook comments, we even on YouTube and all these other places, feel free to put that information on there. And this is the time in the show where I say, hey, Rod Bray's welcome to come on the show. I've asked him a couple times to come on, and he hasn't. So I'm good with that.
I would love to debate him. I would love to just have a debate. Love it.
He won't.
Yeah.
He won't.
Yeah.
He's coward.
Well, that's.
I'll debate anybody, but I would certainly debate this opponent on his record. I mean, I would love to do that. I think it's
it would be very noble.
I think that's another thing that I think it comes down to integrity. Why would you be afraid of a debate? I mean, he is a 3rd-generation politician with a shiny law degree. I'm just an antique motorcycle hillbilly. What do I know? Come debate me.
That's where you go to get answers. That's what I say.
Yeah.
All right,
what I want to see instead of a debate? I want to see a skill off. I want to see whether or not they have useful skills. Like you could totally put a motorcycle together and create something of value. Most of these politicians can't swing a hammer. They can't do anything other than lie to people.
I can build a house.
I want to see mud wrestling.
Yeah,
I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
You jump to
listen,
you can't just build a house.
I would do that. I can build a house. I can build, I build things that go really, really fast. And
well, I got something for you to build, Jay. It's a campaign because you're gonna have to go really, really fast. But
I'm doing it.
I
brother.
can win it like Seinfeld trivia, probably. That's
it's like
my
this.
skill,
I
Lucy.
wanted to challenge. I wanted to challenge
sorry,
these guys running. I wanted to challenge them to a sidewalk contest. You got to tear out a block of sidewalk, and whoever could get it done first. And I'm like, they'd break it down or something. I think
I can lay concrete. I've done all the concrete work here at our house.
Like get the cardboard mat out and break dance.
Well, I can see, Jay, you've already had an effect on the show because Becky Cash just sent me a message about being on the show. So you're already making friends and all that good stuff. So and that it is it is 150 people involved in this legislature, and you got a governor that you got to get stuff passed.
I know we're running late. Can I address that real quick?
Sure.
I do want to say this. I'm not, people watch my Facebook lives and they see spirited talk. They see me be, pretty wild on there. And look, that's a different audience, and it is fun to keep them interested. But I'm a person who is, I'm a very good listener. I am definitely a team player. If you put me in a room with 150 people with different ideas, different strategies on different bills, if you put me in a room with those people, that is where I excel. I love this right here, where we have a conversation with 5 or 6 people who do not necessarily agree, but try to find the sweet spot to where we can all put pressure behind that spot to do something good. I think people in that General Assembly would
do that. Hold on. How did you do that? How did you do that? You made a heart.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even
and then
do
the little
that.
hearts
Do it again and hold it there.
Yeah, there we go. So I think people would be shocked at how well I would work with people from across the aisle. I think people would be shocked at how well. I think people like Senator Taylor, some folks from the other side of the aisle, I think people would be shocked at how hard I would work, especially when it comes to children. Somebody asked me today, well, what committees would you want to serve on? Family, absolutely. Kids. It's the future of this state is my biggest concern. What we're doing, Indiana was there for me when I needed it most. It helped me get out of my impoverished situation to where I live a pretty damn good life today. I have a wonderful family, a hardworking family. It is way beyond the imagination of any little dirty-faced boy.
Well, you got silver backsplashes. So here's how you get. This is how you get Brad's
It's
vote.
vinyl.
Here you go.
It's
Here you
vinyl.
go. If you were to make a state law fish karaoke, then Brad would probably move to Morgan County and he would vote for you.
Some of their songs only have like 4 words.
Brad, I'll do a little jam session for you one of these days. I once in a while I pull the guitar out. People always tell me, they're like, Jay, stop talking and just play your guitar. I'm a country guitar player. I play a lot of 20.
I just get people to tell me to quit talking. No guitar or nothing. Just quit talking. Speaking of stopping talking, let's get ready. Jay, we've made a new rule on
I got
mouthwash. You got a conspiracy theory? Okay, well, we'll let you. It's your funeral.
Wow,
so,
that's a lot of foil.
So, all right. Well, hey, folks, it's time to get it on here. It's let's play the conspiracy theory thing, and I got one. I got a decent one. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's decent, but hey, get your tinfoil hats on. Let's get you up.
Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week.
All right. I don't have a tinfoil. Oh, look, Brad's he looks like he's going to a hockey game instead of the tinfoil hat. But look at this.
Brad looks homeless. He looks straight homeless.
So you notice I don't have.
I fit the
I
mold.
have this. I have this hat on for a reason. So just bear with me. My tinfoil hat's right here handy. I didn't just can't find it. So
Maya made me a hat on my daughter made me a hat on the way home. I was texting ahead of time, calling ahead of time. I was like, make me a hat. I'm on my way home. I've got to have a hat. I've done this show twice and I didn't have a hat.
That's the best one of the whole show. Good job, Jay.
Yeah, it's good. So in honor of Jay Hart having bravery here, what's your conspiracy? You got a hat now. Do you got a conspiracy?
I've got a conspiracy, but it's not it's one that everyone's already talked about, but it's Taylor Swift choosing her dates and where she's choosing her tour dates and why. And she's got several dates scheduled just before the election down in Miami-Dade County. And I think that I just don't believe that is. I heard Tony Katz talking about the other day as if he's, oh, that's crazy. Katz, I've been in the music business. I've been around the music business a long time, and I'm telling you, it's not crazy.
Not
But
crazy. Well, this is what I heard that she was talking online to this guy named Hanging Chad, and she wants to go meet him. That's the conspiracy right there. He's like, hey,
well,
that Hanging Chad guy, I gotta go out with that guy.
But not dangling Chad.
Easy, Tiffany. This is a family show. So,
what did Chad do to you?
No, I kind of like the Chads. I'm almost a Chad wife.
There was a Bigfoot named Chad. Bigfoot.
That's when I got involved in politics, the 2000 election.
Yeah, that's when I realized like my vote really counted. I was in
Florida guy like this
ballot. My ballot was in a trash bag that they collected in
oh really?
At a cookout in Alabama. Yeah.
Hey.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why was there a cookout?
So
in Alabama.
So when I was in the military, I was a Florida resident, and they did absentee ballots, and somebody brings them and collects them and takes them. So like, yeah. And then
wow, so you were part of the Hanging Chad. You know Chad too. That's why you know.
I didn't know Chad. I know Dangling Chad.
Yeah, easy. All right. Well, speaking of Bigfoot, Tiffany, what do you have?
Oh, so the CEO of Kellogg's has said that people should start eating cereal for dinner because food prices are too high. So I think that is probably a pretty big conspiracy theory, because all of a sudden, not only do we want you to question your gender and be underemployed, we also want you to be malnourished. So they are working really, really hard to destroy America as we know it. And it all starts with Fruit Loops for dinner.
And don't ever read the back of those cereal boxes. They have games and toys that they tell you would be like this, and you order them and they don't work. I'm done over that. So speaking of Bill,
it was a real one. What? Nothing, John?
Was that? No, that was
no.
good.
It's working, Tiffany. Look.
Yeah. Cereal for dinner.
Not cereal, worse.
Classic Pop-Tarts.
I had my last Pop-Tart today because I went to the doctor and they said my cholesterol was this, and I got a pre-diabetes, and I'm 1 foot in the grave. So honestly, I usually eat 2 Pop-Tarts every morning, and my wife said, no bueno, no Pop-Tarts. Life is over as I know it. I'll try to get on. Now I got some little fruit bar thing with low sugar in it. So we'll see. If I'm cranky in the morning, you know why. My Pop-Tarts have been cut off. So, Jay, I'm jealous. You're still young enough. You don't have a foot in the grave.
No,
but this politics may kill you.
Can you have bacon at least? You know?
Bacon?
John? Yeah, can you have bacon?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I didn't. That wasn't on the list. He wrote a whole list out. My doctor wrote a whole list out of stuff. Like a lot of carbs are just no good for you.
See, here's the problem. I don't eat this. I could eat this, but then I couldn't drink all my beer.
Okay, yeah, there's carbs in beer too. So, Lucy, speaking of Bill Gates, buying all the farmland and running the price of cereal up, what do you got?
Okay, well, I've got a couple of things. First of all, Pop-Tarts and beer. My old boss, who's from Illinois, said that when the storm was coming and you were going to have, like the snowstorm, people in Illinois buy Pop-Tarts and beer, which makes a lot more sense than people in Indiana who buy milk, bread, and eggs. I mean, we're going to be making like French toast in the middle of a storm when our electricity is out. Yeah, so let's talk about this, because you were sitting on February 27th, and that means in the next couple of weeks, people should be starting seeds. They should be thinking about how they're going to feed their families. Even if you just go get, some sprouts and you're growing them in mason jars, or you do some microgreens, it's a very serious thing. And this is just like John said, I mean, Bill Gates has been buying up the farmland. And like Janet said in the comments, those aren't Pop-Tarts, those are glyphosate tarts, those are Roundup tarts. So what should we be doing to make sure that we can eat?
I'm sort of glad. I'm just glad to know that my wife loves me enough to quit eating that poison. So, it's like, who knows what that stuff, it's like unleavened bread or something like that with sugar on top of it just to get you to eat it. But I do want to say before we get to bread,
I'm not done. So the real conspiracy, lawns. lawns in your front yard, lawns in your backyard, and you're spending time, energy, gas. Why? So you can have like green carpet instead of feeding yourself. And of course, there are people all over this country who have literally been threatened with jail time for the crime of planting edibles, like squash and things like that in their front yards and tomatoes in their front yards. So I think
Like
the real
weed.
conspiracy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
think of the
just
property
weed.
value.
I could eat
damaging
squirrels. I've got a war on squirrels going right now. I'm up to 4 of them. I got one of them's a resident of Speedway, one's Brownsburg, one's Canby, and I got one in Beach Grove right now. But and so yesterday I go out there and I look out there and there's my cat sitting like 2 feet away from 2 squirrels. I'm like, cat, we're trying to get these squirrels. I should have snapped a picture of it, but it was just too embarrassing that this cat couldn't get the squirrels. So I caught one today. That one's in Speedway now, but they've been eating my garden. So, but if it gets really bad, Lucy, I could just trap squirrels for a while. So I
Yeah,
think I still
well,
have more to get.
grow food, not lawns. The federal government has already aerosol sprayed deer. Millions and millions of wildlife have been sprayed with these aerosolized vaccines, and now we have zombie deer.
Is
So
there
those
such a
of
thing as
you,
squirrel soup? Is that
oh,
something
yeah,
you
of
can
course
make?
there is.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
People,
I would
yeah, people.
recommend to anybody that is like seriously worried about the food supply and about the density of calories because sprouts are great, but man, there's not very many calories in a cup of broccoli or a couple of broccoli sprouts. You really do need some dense food source, which is why a lot of people still eat meat. Rabbits. You should be thinking about rabbits
Wabbits.
because
Rascally wabbits.
for the amount of food rabbits eat, it is the most efficient way to get calories. Most cost effective, most efficient. They're silent. So, unlike your roosters that are really obnoxious, and when the government comes around to gas your chickens, the roosters are like, here, gas me first because I'm
That's me.
stupid and crow all the
You
time.
should you should hear Mars Hill. I'm telling you what, we got more roosters and chickens. It is unbelievable.
I love that.
It is. My neighbor behind me, they just got a bunch of them, and
We're surrounded by chickens here.
well, you're in Morgan County. I'm in Mars Hill.
We have,
I'm right
yeah,
by the airport. I mean,
yeah.
So it's a little squirrels and chickens. Yeah. But my chicken, I don't have a rooster. I just have the 4 chickens. But we have plenty of those. And I think the guy across the street has rooster fights. Like so
that's no good.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess it seems to be a lot of people enjoy betting on those chickens fighting. So it works out.
We're going to start having goat fights. We have goats.
Great.
Maybe we should have goat fights.
They talk.
Well, you know what? We do have goat fights. It's the most entertaining thing. Right over here, there's some windows that look out and up the hill where the goats are, and they're my daughter's goats, and they were 4-H goats that they became pets, and they're here, and she's getting ready to get more goats because it's 4-H season again, and we're a big 4-H family. 4-H is one of the greatest things that ever happened to kids, and we watch these goats, and it is the greatest thing in the world is to sit and drink coffee and watch these goats play. It's so peaceful. It's so great. So you need to be the goat guy in Marcel.
I had a feral cat fight on my front porch last night. I kid you not, I should have filmed it. It was like they were just fighting, and then they just quit and rest for a second, and then there was white fur everywhere. The white cat lost. I know the red cat won. But
wow.
Yeah, we have feral cats, chickens, roosters, squirrels, all that stuff.
We had a turkey in our front yard last week. One of our neighbors raises meat turkeys and does turkeys for eggs. And I was on the phone with the guy, and I looked out, and this big white bird is in front, and I thought it was some kind of like albino bird, like a big predator bird, an eagle or a hawk or buzzard or whatever. So I couldn't get off the phone fast enough to get out there, and the closer I get, I'm like, that's a turkey. I'm like, oh, that's somebody's turkey. That's a domestic, it's white. And so I call my wife. I'm like, you got to come see this turkey walking around because it walked right up to me, so clearly it's somebody's turkey. And so I'm like, I know the neighbor. Only one of our neighbors would have turkey. It's this neighbor I call. And while we're waiting on the neighbor to pull in the drive to come get their turkey back, out comes an egg. And we got it's the first egg the turkey had laid. So we got the first egg. And I don't have the
sitting
first.
on it?
Yeah. Wait a second. Are you trying to say you had a Democrat in your yard? Is that what you're trying to say? You had a Democrat in your yard and they laid an egg? Okay. Speaking of Democrats laying eggs, Brad, what do you got up there?
I'm gonna go with the eclipse. We're starting to get phone calls at the library about whether or not we have glasses for it. So April 8th, if you guys need glasses, I'd contact your local library. They're probably giving them away for free, but it should be around like 3 p.m.
Check them out. You have to check them out and bring them back.
No, and it doesn't show you pornography through the lenses and some sort of weird subliminal.
Here we go.
Well, that's the conspiracy you should have read.
That would be, you know.
Yeah, that would be good.
I don't want
It's
to
like
get
you
that
get
around.
these glasses and they
Slick Witty would run with that, you know. He'd be like, "Oh, look at Brad." He would edit out the conspiracy theory banner. So
yeah, it's like, well, we got Jerry Lopez in the house, the English or Indy Spanglish. He is fills in on the Hammer and Nigel show for Nigel on occasion, and hey, by the way, we'll be on there at 4:35 this Friday, bashing on the election board. Actually, there's going to be we're going to have a discussion with Hammer and Nigel. There's going to be a guest on there, Laura Pearson. I'm going on with her. We're going to talk about these things.
If you see Rob Kendall, if you see Rob Kendall down there around the studio, tell him that I'm trying to kiss and make up here. Like,
I'm not the guy.
My best.
Yeah, you need some publicity, my friend.
Listen, he and I agree on like 99.9% of policy. We had a couple little arguments, and I can be just as bullheaded as he can be. You know, when there's another smart aleck on the other side of the table, we have fun doing those things.
Jerry says, just listen for the guy screaming, you'll find him. So yeah, Jerry does a great job on there. He's trying to launch his own podcast, and you know, there's a lot of podcasts out there. And I do want to take time right now to tell everybody that was in the live chat tonight. Everybody was quite civil. They were very good. I give you hats off to your civilness. So Brad, was that your conspiracy that you got the glasses and that there's porn in them?
Yeah, basically. I mean, let's run with that. That wasn't the original one, but that one.
It's the sun taking its moon pants off.
That was it. Yeah.
Taking its
well, no, and there's kind of a famous meme of the last time we had a solar eclipse that a lady had messaged into the library asking if since she had to work, if she could reschedule it, or if the library would reschedule it because she couldn't go to it. A solar eclipse.
Reschedule what? Work at
eclipse.
A celestial event. She wanted that to be moved.
Well, you know what? That says it all. Only top employees work at libraries. That's what I thought.
Oh boy, here we go.
Smartest of the smart, right there.
Yeah, that wowed the audience right there. That wowed them. So now it's down to
right into that, Brad. You know I love you.
Tiffany. Yeah.
You know I love you.
Yeah, you guys are. You know, it's like. Well, you know, and Tiffany, you gotta. You know, Brad's actually officially on the show now because he's in the countdown. I mean, he's 3.5 because we can't take Ed out. That's
see, but I'm sad though, John. I wish I could have said 350. You know,
350. Well, we can redo it. I mean, I have unlimited digital film here. It's just I got like 10 piles.
As soon as that went off, I'm like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can do it again. 350. Okay. That works. I like it. It sounds hip with all the youngsters, all the hipsters out there. So anyway, now it's my turn. So you see, I have my Brad Chambers hat on. I went and listened to him speak. He had a hat there, and I said, I'm going to grab that hat. And so my conspiracy is that Mike Braun, who's in the governor's race, he is going to drop out at some point, and he's going to endorse Brad Chambers as the guy that's going to run for governor. So you heard it here first. So
I need a drink.
I know. Well, this is conspiracy theories, and I run the show, so I can say whatever I want. And I got the banner running. Thanks, Bureau, for running the banner on there. So that's my conspiracy. So if it comes true, you'll know that I know, right? So, all right. Well, hey, everybody, this has been a fun show tonight. And Jay, I wish you all the luck on this. And you got your work cut out for you, but I don't think it's impossible. I've seen some impossible races. Yours is not impossible. It's going to be some work. And this is one of those where the primary is the race. And I think we're going to have a lot of those races that are that way. I mean, whoever wins these primaries, I mean, we got a doozy going in the 6th. We got a doozy going in the 5th for the U.S. stuff. And, Jim Baird and, Charles Bookwalter is going at it out there in the 4th. So it's like crazy. It's crazy.
Like Fight Club.
Yeah, it is. Maybe we could have, we could do mixed martial arts debates.
Maybe we should do not gambling, but maybe we should just pick winners and like do like the little boards and stuff. And
we could do like
Oh yeah,
bingo. Yeah,
like
maybe
an
we should
election
do-
night thing, like where we're
yeah, because we're usually on Tuesday
Oh, we
nights
could
on
do
election
fantasy politics. Yes,
Hey,
fantasy
Oh, yeah.
politics.
and I
You
could
bet that.
and I could do it on election night. I could just leave the polls, jump on the show.
Yeah, we're always game for that. But I think in the past we've had a lot of people have been running. Now, Brad, you're running for.
No, I decided not to. There's somebody that is running.
What were you
And my
gonna
whole
because we didn't want you to not be on the show because 45 days out you got to we can have you as a guest but we can't have you on the panel, right, Tiffany?
Yes.
You had to go.
Wouldn't it be great if we had the presidential candidates the night of the race? If they were, because we know, they're not doing anything. They're with their families or whatever. Have them on a show and they're putting their own things up on the board. Both of them there together, talking smack to each other, putting their own points up.
It'd be like Peyton, Eli, and Peyton Manning.
Donald
That'd
Trump
be like
doesn't
that
really
show.
like the spotlight. I don't think, though. I don't think he'd go for that.
I think
Who's
I'm
that?
gonna put together a fantasy team. I think that will be fun. Yes, Lieutenant Governor. Yes.
Yeah. So
Maybe
yeah, we got some
Oh,
interesting
wow.
stuff going on.
Tornado watch for Gosport, Indiana until I didn't see the time. It just popped on here.
Yeah,
Y'all
they
be
said we got
careful.
a big temperature difference. It's supposed to be 30 in the morning or something like that. So everybody go out and get your milk and bread, batten down. Lucy's already there. She's probably planted some sprouts. They'll be up in the morning to have for breakfast. And everybody will be happy with that. So, all right. Hey, Jay, Tiffany, Lucy, Brad, thanks as always for coming on for
Thank you
this
so much.
fun time. And I think I have the right ending on here. You just never know. So we'll see y'all next week. We got John Rust coming on. And then after that, we have you ever heard of this guy? Mike Felker. Jay Hard, have you heard of this guy? Mike Felker. He's running for U.S. House District 3, Jim Banks' old seat. He's in there with about 8 other people. So he's a blue-collar guy. And so we're going to have a talk with him. And then after that, we have Dion's Daily Dosed. Dion Bergeron is coming on. He does a little podcast up in northern Indiana. So we'll be, doing a little cross-pollination, as we call it, with him. So we got a pretty good lineup for the next couple of weeks. I like that because I can plan ahead a little bit. So anyway, thanks for everybody watching. We will see you same time next week, 9:00. Everybody, bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.